Hi, everyone. About a month ago, I had the opportunity to attend the Maternal Health Forum at Ball State. Um, the hosted the forum that 2020 Mom put on about surrounding maternal mental health and specifically looking at trauma in birth. For a good portion of the forum. And what I want to talk to you about is how doulas can help improve that state of maternal mental health and how things are perceived when it comes to hospital and birthing center births. So, looking at the big picture of births in the US, 34% of birthing people in the United States perceive their birth to be traumatic. While that number is very close to the national average for cesarean births, the numbers aren't directly correlated. There were people who have vaginal births who feel that they are traumatic, and there are people who have cesarean births who don't feel any trauma in relation to their birth, whether emergency or planned. What we are seeing is that the greatest desires we're seeing from birthing people who felt they suffered trauma is that they felt they weren't being cared for as a person, and they felt they weren't being directly communicated with. So what may have happened is something, for instance, something like things got busy and doctors spoke directly to the nurses, and then somebody had to rush out of the room, or someone started a new procedure. All sorts of different things could have happened, and birthing individuals weren't feeling communicated with. Or something could have happened and they felt there was no care directly for them, even though there were doctors and nurses taking care of needs. They weren't feeling cared for as an individual, and that has led to a great deal of the trauma that we're seeing. One of the leading causes of PTSD related to birth trauma is a perception of inadequate care in labor and delivery. Now, most of the time, we know that the care is good. But because individuals aren't feeling communicated with, they're not feeling heard, they're not feeling directly cared for, that can lead to trauma. What happens when you have a doula in the room is that sense of not being communicated with or cared for disappears, because a doula is there to help a person process and understand what is said or what is happening. If those doctors and nurses are getting really busy and things are getting hectic, a doula can specifically be there to communicate with the birthing person, can specifically be there to communicate with the birthing person's other support people. And they're there purely for that birthing individual. They're not talking to that birthing individual and then leaving the room, like so many times has to happen if you're a nurse or a doctor. The doula is able to support them fully during that time. And trauma and birth stress can be great. Trauma and birth stress can be greatly reduced by having that doula there simply to communicate with the birthing person, simply to make sure that their needs are being met. So often the world looks at healthy mom, healthy baby, but just looks at the physical side of that. mental health isn't always being considered when it comes to that perception of a healthy birthing person. But we can't have a healthy birthing person if we're ignoring their mental health. What we need is those individuals to feel heard, to feel communicated with, to feel directly cared for, so that they're not experiencing this sense of no one was talking to me, or they were doing things to me, not for me. Doctors and nurses can sometimes get caught up, as wonderful as they are, they can get caught up in the moment and forget that maybe this birthing individual doesn't understand, or they can forget that there are other things going through this individual's mind because they have so many people to care for. Doctors and nurses do what they do because they want to care for people, but because of the nature of the job, they can't always provide the support that an individual desires. That's where doula support can improve so many things. If we're improving the level of care that an individual is receiving, and we're making sure that they feel heard, they feel directly communicated with, they tend to be so much happier in regards to their birthing experience, which is incredibly important. We need to remember that mental health is part of the entire individual's well-being. So having that doula there is huge. Not only is it huge for the birthing individual and the birth team, whether that's a spouse or significant other or family member or best friend or all of the above, but that doula can be there to support that. But a nice side effect of them, the birth individual and their team feeling supported, is that when an individual feels better about their experience, they're going to feel better about the entirety of the experience. So if that birthing individual feels cared for and they feel heard, they're going to be happier with their experience. That's going to reflect positively on the hospital satisfaction rating, on the doctor's satisfaction rating, on the nurse care satisfaction rating. So yes, our goal as doulas is to improve an individual's feelings about being heard, about being supported, but they're also going to help them feel better about the entire experience, which is why it's so important for doulas to be available and to be supportive in that hospital environment, as well as any birthing center environment and home births as well. So we need to make sure that we are caring for the entirety of birthing people. We're not just looking at their physical health and baby's physical health, but we're looking at their mental health, because we can't have healthy birthing individuals if we're not also considering their mental health during the process. Thanks for listening. Would love to hear what you think.